Welcome to MaliceCast TV Talks, The Walking Dead, hello to all geek enthusiasts, nerd aficionados, and Walking Dead heads. Thank you for joining us for the impromptu discussion about The Walking Dead. We usually do this on Mondays at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. However, unfortunate events and memory lapses caused it not to happen this week. So we pushed it back to this Wednesday so all three of these wonderful people that talk to you on Mondays can be here. With me, Mess5150, I also have joining me Mrs. Malice. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Great. Fabulous. Wonderful. Want to finish my book.
Oh yeah, she got book 10 of the trade paperbacks to continue catching up on The Walking Dead. Also joining us, we have, as always, IC Zorro on the chat.
Yeah, and the delay is my bad. I'm the idiot that forgot and just wasn't quite. I was far from home at the time. It's all my fault. But I have also been reading a lot more. I've said on this cast that I've only read up through issue 100. I have now read through issue 140. So in the books, I am now past the main Negan story and up to the Whisperers. So I'm loving reading these books again.
Yeah, and I have said as well myself that I'm not fully caught up either. I'm just I'm reading the compendiums, so I've still got a long ways to go to catch up. But I still love the show, and that's why we're here, is to talk about the show, because we are three people that are still infatuated with the show, still like the show. We haven't run away from it yet, even after Carl dying last week. Oh, absolutely. And just to let you know, this is a spoiler cast, so if we do release any details, oops. That's what we're here for, is to react, review, and discuss what's been happening. And it's really hard to do that without spoiling what's going on. So let us know in the chat if you're watching what you thought of this week's episode, The Lost and the Plunderers, season 8, episode 10.
Polyfuse is already in the chat. Welcome, Polyfuse.
Welcome, Polyfuse. Welcome. So, as always, we're going to kind of jump into it. Start off with what was our least favorite scene in the episode. So I'm going to jump with you first, IC Zorro. Where were you not? Was there anything that you weren't happy with?
You know, I watched it twice. I rewatched it again tonight right before doing this, just to refresh myself. I think the only part that I didn't like all that much was, and it was necessary, but right at the beginning with Rick and Michonne kind of going through a slow, quiet, well, not even that slow, but mourning for Carl. Michonne and trying to put out the gazebo that was on fire just seemed really weird and unnecessary.
See, and to me, unnecessary, but at the same time, just died. And you heard what Michonne said, right?
Yeah, he used to sit up there.
He used to sit on top of it. So it's just trying to save any memory
of him.
Yeah. No, yeah. I get it, and I understand why it was necessary for her to do that emotionally. It felt like kind of the one weird dead spot.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That makes sense. I personally, it was a little weird. It was kind of just the giving up on Alexandria thing. I think at that stage was, hey, it's gone. There's no saving it. It's overrun by zombies.
I don't know.
That would be the second time it has been, though. Second time it ran over by zombies. Run over.
Yeah, I mean they've everybody that they know has clearly got a ton of experience in clearing out areas, and that's got a wall. So if they can fix the gate, they can take their time, just clear it out again and move back in. Mm-hmm. You know, assuming that the war with Negan ends at some point.
Yeah. But I mean, everything's blown up and stuff. It's going to take a lot more time to fix this time around, because grenades and whatnot. So
yeah.
Okay, what about you, Mrs. Malice? What was your least favorite part of the episode?
Mine would be why that Rick would read Negan's letter from Carl first and not his own.
Because he wants to know why the hell there's a letter written to Negan.
I mean, I get that, but your son just died. Wouldn't you want to read his last words to you? I mean, I would want to read my son's last words to me and then read the Negan letter. Mm-hmm. And
I kind of get that.
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of get where Rick's coming from.
I do too, but
why is there even a letter from Negan? It feels almost like a betrayal to him at that point. He just lost his son. Like, why the hell is he talking to this dude?
Yeah, but yeah, that's exactly what I would get is the point, because he even tells Michonne, I need a second, And she's like, take the time you need, because I don't know if Michonne's thinking, well, he's going to go read the letter for himself, or she's thinking he needs to find out why the hell he wrote a letter to Negan.
That's what I thought when he walked away too. I was like, oh, he's gonna read his letter from his son. He's gonna cry. He's gonna have to have that moment. But no, he reads the one from Negan first. It's like, come on. And it doesn't even show him reading his own letter. Like,
yeah. Did you pause at all and read what Carl actually wrote to Negan?
No.
I have it right here.
I mean, I didn't get the whole letter, but it was, I mean, I got the general gist of it. It was essentially, I understand why you are the way you are and why you need to be that guy. I understand that think that you're doing the best for the world, and I see your point of view there, but really, we have to have peace at some point.
Yeah, no, it's Negan. This is Carl. This is what the words you could catch. Negan, this is Carl. Back when dang it, hit the wrong little button there. Back when I got bit. We didn't ever doing. I was just helping someone, and you might be gone. Maybe my dad, he killed you, but I don't think so. I think working on a way out. Maybe you got out. Maybe lost cause, and you just want to kill all of us. I think you have to be who you are. It's weird what you wanted. I wanted to ask you. Maybe you'll beat us. If you do, the way out is working together. It's forgiveness. Have to be apart. Offers you peace and start. So of course it's all broken up and stuff, but yeah, it is basically saying no matter who wins, we got to get to peace at some point. So,
and I think this episode did a really good job of demonstrating that Negan thinks that he's doing the right thing for restarting civilization. He thinks his rules are necessary. That this is the way to go. It's it's cooperation between communities with him guiding. We've talked a little bit before about whether Negan is really a bad guy or if the Alexandrians are bad guys or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think this episode pretty clearly shows that Negan is definitely doing what he's doing as a sort of ends justify the means thing. He thinks he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. What do you think, Mrs. Malice?
I would have to agree with that too. I mean, they're all bad, good guys. Like, whether way you look at it, it's a bad and good thing.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think it's playing really into the factor of what seemed to be the core focus at the beginning of this season. What we talked about a lot was who really is the bad guys, who really are the bad guys in this whole situation. Maybe it's Rick and his group that's the bad guys. And I think it's showing more that Negan was categorized as a bad guy because the first time you see him is taking out retribution for you killed my people, so I'm taking one of yours. That's just the way it's got to be. And when you think about it now, it's almost it's a different world altogether that we're looking at. It's kind of keeping capital punishment in effect somewhat, where it's like you got to learn your lessons. We're not going to kill all of you. We need to work together, but somebody's got to be taught a lesson for.
And you said taking retribution for killing his people. If you look at it, and Negan even pointed this out at some point, a couple of points. They killed a ton of his people. Mm-hmm. He killed 2 of theirs. He was only going to kill 1.
Yeah, but then Daryl being Daryl. Yeah.
So even the fact that Negan has killed the fact is that he's killed people that we know and love. If we were on his side, we'd be like, man, he is going way too easy on them, which is kind of what Simon's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh God, let's not get me started about that man.
Well, we're going to get you started about that, man.
Yeah, that's so what I'd like to, just to get into it with this episode, what I'd like to call this episode is roll call. Because that's how it felt with all the
oh yeah, the names.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, if you don't remember what the name of this person, Michonne, and we got Negan here, and hey, Janice is
I've changed my mind. I have a different least favorite part of the episode.
The roll call.
Mess, you and I talked about this a little bit on the pre-show when we were setting up. I don't understand why they did that. Was it just a different director? It was a weird storytelling device that didn't feel necessary or in keeping with the rest of the show. Like, we don't need to know who this segment is going to be about. We're going to watch the segment. We know the people. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing as well, is that there is a new showrunner for the show. It's not Gimbal anymore. And they have been getting more artsy with things, with the slow pans of stuff and looking more into the eyes of the person. And now you have these titles. Everybody's calling it a reference to Pulp Fiction. That's how it feels. It feels like a Tarantino film where they're just jumping back and forth between, like, here's the scene. I don't get the relevance of it. I'm hoping that there's a relevant reason for those names, because it didn't make it like it says Michonne, and then it's a scene with Michonne and Rick. Granted, first you're seeing Michonne coming to terms with seeing the handprint for Carl, and we have to.
I cried on that part.
Yeah, and we have to save that the burning down. But it was still a scene with Rick and Michonne. It wasn't Michonne, and same thing. It says Negan, and it's a scene with Negan and Simon. You know,
the only thing that I can come up with, and you kind of called it out already, Tarantino style. You know, think of Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, where it's non-chronological. The only reason they were doing that was to let you know that this story is not going to be told in order, I guess. Mm-hmm. Because if they had just done it out of order without the title cards, it'd be like, what the hell? I don't understand.
Yeah, we're already confused enough throughout the whole season. So with the camming and the future dreams and stuff like that.
What does Polyfuse have to say about, because I'm jumping over to the
Polyfuse, he says, pretty sure Negan is a power hungry douche. Not exactly his word there. Yeah, so he thinks he's the only one who can lead people. He's basically a playground bully, which I think he's more like the school hall monitor who has some got some power and thinks that he's going to roll with an iron fist now.
I think Simon's the playground bully.
Yeah.
Negan's. I think Negan's trying to have a proper way of doing all this stuff. Put something into some type of law and punishment and.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. Simon is definitely more the playground bully. He's the guy that's like, I'm just going to push people around, shoot everybody if I feel like they piss me off.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. So,
the orders either, obviously.
I'm going to start with my favorite scene of the show before we go into everybody else's favorite scene. By far, the reaction that ended up happening. So what ended up happening was, just to give a little rundown of the episode, we started out with Michonne and Rick coming to terms with that Alexandria's pretty much desolate now and Carl's dead. We jump into Negan talking to Simon about plans to go deal with the hilltop. They're hiding somewhere. Everybody from Alexandria is somewhere. We need to deal with it, and we need to deal with the garbage people. We need to deal with the heapsters. And Simon's like, yeah, let's go take them all out. Let's go kill them. And he's like, no, they're resources. They're still people that we need. For the first time, we see sense from Simon where Simon's like, maybe we need to learn the lesson where it's just time to get up and leave and let these guys do what they're doing.
Because our method is clearly not working on these groups right now.
Yeah. So,
I think that was another.
I think that was a good point that he made, but Negan's like, nope, it's just, we got to figure it out. We got to, he doesn't want to get up and try and do this all over again. And I can understand that aspect too. But he tells them they got to go to the heapsters and you do the same thing he did with Rick's group. One dies, they get taught a lesson, and it'll bring them all into the fold.
Yeah.
Which is where we get to in the middle of the scene where Simon goes, he tells him he needs an apology, he talks to Janice, and for the first time, you see that they are not just idiots in terms of speech and articulation of talking.
Even that was later.
Well, even in that scene, you see it, because he says, I need an apology, and she's like, remorse is given. And when he shoots the first heapster,
yeah.
Oh yeah, she goes crazy and starts yelling at him.
But she says, "You son of a bitch!" She gives actual articulation at that point.
She uses prepositions.
Yes. So I was like, "Oh, okay, nice." So they're
Simon got her out of her one-liners to full sentences.
Well, it brings full circle what we were saying, what we were trying to figure out before is this just a tactic that they're using to keep people as outsiders, to keep them not feeling, and that's what it really came across as now. It was a tactic that was used. So whenever somebody else wasn't in it, now I'd like to see scenes of them without Rick or anybody else there and see how they talk. If they were just like,
you won't be seeing scenes with them anymore. So
well, we'll definitely be seeing scenes with Janice. So she's still.
I would bet that they were still talking with all that weird syntax even when they were alone, because it was not only a tactic to intimidate outside people, but to sort of join themselves as a group. You know, when Simon's asking them, or asking Jadis, why the garbage place? She's like, our place, ours. Like, it was very much about them having their own community, their own sense of space, and their own identity amongst all the survivors. So I think they still talked like that even amongst themselves. I wonder how much concentration it took, though, to not say things like you or I or it's.
I know, right?
Oh yeah, acting wise, it had to have been, and I think she even said that episodes ago when we talked about it, that it was really hard to kind of figure out how to get into that characterization, that talking and everything. So, but that led into my favorite scene, which was the scene where you saw Rick and Michonne talking to Janice, and I liked just seeing a proper conversation, and actually made me like Janice, especially the reaction that she took, where she went and had to take out her people with the meat grinder.
Hey,
basically,
leave those kids alone.
Yeah, that
popped in my head.
All in all, you're just some more slop on the wall.
For the first time, I want to see more of something having to do with the Heapsters. I want to see what's, I want to see what's going on with Janice, for the whole factor that the drop of why do you have a helipad and solar panels in the back?
Yes.
Helicopter.
Exactly.
That's where the helicopter was coming from.
That's what we're trying to find out. Yeah.
It was discussed a little bit on Talking Dead because Kirkman was on the show at the time. And of course, he always refuses to release any information about further, upcoming stuff, which has got to be infuriating for everyone watching.
He
says essentially, like, they've got a helipad for a reason. There's no, we mentioned it for a reason.
Yeah. And Polyfuse says the leader of the garbage pail people should have been beaten to death with a wiffle ball bat. So definitely not a fan of her even after all this.
Be quite a workout.
Jack's saying the Heapsters are all dead. There's still one. We still got it.
If they were controlling the helicopter, there could be more than one.
Yeah, and I really doubt it was we've already seen one helicopter crash before we met the governor. And I think that was probably the one that we saw over Atlanta.
Those had army guys.
But we saw a helicopter this season, remember, flying over.
Yes.
There's a reason.
Rick saw it. Yeah.
That's what I thought she was going to do when she went into all the things that she was digging through. Like she was going to pull everything aside, and it was going to be like, oh, there's a helicopter under all this trash.
Right? The helicopter piece, like, it's okay, I got my ride.
But I think we can kind of assume that the solar panels are, if there is a helicopter, that would definitely be part of it. But also the fact that she was able to run that giant grinder, power had to be coming from somewhere.
Yeah, which makes sense with solar panels.
So, and what about you, Mrs. Malice? What was your favorite scene of the episode?
I would have to say my favorite scene is kind of like 2 and 2, like the fact that my face was when she started actually saying full sentences. It made me like her, and then I felt bad because she meat grinded her people, but that was cool because it was blood and guts. So it literally all tied together as that being my long favorite scene. Yeah, it is.
Because of course, anything with blood and guts is gonna be your favorite on the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I get it. I gotta say, the Heapsters being ground up into mushy paste was a real close second. I think my favorite scene had to be the very last one with Rick and Negan talking on the walkies, because it was just there was no. At first, there was no posturing. There was no showing off for his people or grandstanding or whatever, at least on Negan's part. He was just genuinely upset that Carl was dead. When he was talking to Simon early in the episode, he was like, man, it's like the kid was built for this stuff. Yeah. And when he's talking to Rick, he's like, that kid, there's going to be a future, and that kid was a big part of my plans. Like,
Yep.
Carl made a huge impression on Negan. Like, he genuinely liked him.
Mhm.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And then, of course, I think he's not playing with Rick's emotions so much as just expressing what he actually thinks in a really mean way. He genuinely thinks that Rick's dumb decisions is what led to Carl dying.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
and it is true. It's
true. Yeah.
He makes the point. Hey, if you would have just gotten in with the program, your kid would still be alive. You would have been there to make sure he didn't do something stupid. I mean, that's why he asks, who did it? Was it us? Because he doesn't want to be at fault for,
somebody he liked.
He doesn't want. The feeling I get from Negan is he doesn't want to kill anybody that he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
But at some points, he has to. One, he's got these bad guys that are working for him, so he's got to take some retribution here and there to not have a mutiny happen, which clearly is probably coming very soon now.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same point, he's got to keep people in line so that nobody tries to get, oh, I can do a better job, and it's a different world. So
Negan is a cult of personality. He leads by sheer force of will, and a lot of times that has to be backed up with beating someone to death with a barbed wire wrapped baseball bat, or putting a burning hot iron to somebody's face because they.
Yeah, Jack Malice says, so if you joined my tyranny, your son wouldn't have died. Yeah, basically, but he wouldn't have joined the tyranny. That it was you guys sit at your town, do what you need to, but just know that you're providing us with food and whatever we want.
And we will protect you, which was the deal. They were supposed to protect them.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like if there would have been a little more give and take in that deal, it might have even worked from the start. Half your stuff is ours now, but in return, we're not just going to protect the area. You can get stuff in trade from other communities, because I think that's the end goal of Rick and Alexandria, the Hilltop, and the Kingdom, is to have inter-community trade. And Negan and the Saviors totally could have been a part of that, except that Negan needs to be in control.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think that's coming to an end here pretty soon with the whole situation with Simon, because it's.
Oh, as soon as Negan finds out what Simon did, he's definitely going to kill Simon.
I don't know if he's going to be able to, because clearly Simon still has control over people to the point that they did it when he said take him out, even though Negan was like, take out one.
Yeah, because they're Simon's guys.
Yeah.
Each lieutenant had their own group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And a lot has been lost, and basically what the group of people that's at Negan's, that's not with the lieutenants, are just the normal, regular people. They're not the fighters. They're not the, the ones that are going to go out and actually do stuff. So,
the fam of the fighter.
Speaking of possible coming mutiny, we see how Simon is really, chafing under the thumb of Negan. Negan is getting to the point where he's like, look, dude, in fact, he screams it, do your job.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't. I'm kind of with you on this one, Mrs. Malice. I think he kind of signed his own death warrant at that, with what he did with the Heapsters. But again, I can also kind of agree with Wes. Negan might not have the ability to do that when it comes to light.
Well, because here's the thing: is Negan's like, okay, he didn't listen to my orders. We got to kill him. We got to take him out. And then Simon comes back and goes, look they killed our people, and he wanted to kill one. They did this, and he wanted to do this. I told him a number of times we need to do this. He's not doing it. He's insane. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. He's not leading the ship right anymore. He almost got us all killed in this building. Who are you going to follow? The one that's taking initiative, or the guy that's clearly losing it?
He's the sanctuary version of what's the dude from the Hilltop? Gregory.
Yep.
But, braver and more willing to actually do stuff.
Yeah.
So, but some of the interesting things that I want to point out here is, one, we asked the question last week: is Rick, was he just another liar to Carl, saying that I'm gonna make your dream a reality, or was he actually gonna try to do it? What are your guys' thoughts? Because I know what my thought is on this from this episode alone. If Rick is if he's going along with what Carl wants or not.
Well, I guess my thought is that I think he's still going to do it, but he's going to end the war by fighting and then making the peace. So he's still going to kill Negan. That's a given. Or try to.
That is not a given.
He's gonna try. That's
Good try.
Negan. Well, okay, so having read past that storyline in the comics now, Negan's still alive.
Yeah.
I'm not that far ahead.
Yeah. It's not exactly a spoiler. Like there's still a lot of road to go through to get where it's at. But
I personally feel Rick has basically taken what Carl told him about we need to get into peace and we need to get things going, and said, yeah, I'm gonna make your dream a reality, and then threw it out the window because Janice needs help, and he shoots over her head. He does the exact the way he explains it is, I just wanted her to go. I didn't want to get her hurt or kill her. He did the exact same thing he did to Sadiq, because he told Carl the same thing. I shot over his head just so he would go. So he hasn't learned his lesson.
Yeah, how could that possibly backfire twice?
If she has a helicopter.
No, maybe Michonne's going to get bit next.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing is his son died and he still hasn't learned a lesson from this, and it's still, I'm going to kill you, when Negan's telling him, hey, take a look in the mirror. It's time to realize that some of these situations that this is you, and rather than listen to what Negan says, it's just, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill. And it's like, dude,
yeah,
you got flaws, and notice them at some point, because it's starting to get frustrating to just see him be so stubborn.
Rick has slid past the Shane end of the scale. You know, Shane was always about ends justify the mean and just kill and whatever. It's a different world. And Rick he goes back and forth on that scale. He's from super peaceful and then he's kill everybody. And I think he's back towards kill everybody.
That's why, because we didn't have Morgan in this episode either.
Yeah.
Morgan wasn't being crazy, so we had Crazy Rick.
Well, yeah. And then Polyfuse is trying to ask where they're at now, and we're telling him where they are, and he's like, okay, so you take your stuff to Fort Benning, pick up some armored vehicles, and go blow up Negan's ass. Duh. And I'm like, I don't know if that stuff's even available to grab anymore.
Yeah, no, like the fact that Negan had a crate full of grenades leads me to believe someone has already done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing.
We've already went there.
But in some of the trivia for this episode, the episode's name was The Lost and the Plundered. That was in reference to the Alexandria Safe Zone sign, which says mercy for the lost, vengeance for the plunderers. And then
hasn't that sign been up for a long time? Like, why did they choose to name the episode that now?
Because Alexandria is gone.
Yeah,
so it's not a safe zone anymore.
Farewell to it.
Yeah. This is now considered the highest death count in an episode. They're assuming around 96 deaths with the Heapsters getting killed off, whereas Monsters was about 89 deaths.
Hey,
weirdly specific.
In terms of parallels, Rick tells Jadis that it's her fault her entire group was killed by the Saviors, where Negan tells Rick that it's his fault that Carl is dead. So
we just point the blame at everybody.
Yeah.
Interesting comment from our producer Jack here. He says he thinks we're all off. Rick is just a good man dealing with a personal hell. I can totally agree with that.
I agree with that.
It's just that I'm of two opinions, and it's weird having read through more of the comics now because I know where they went, and I know that the show is not the same thing as the comics. Again, if you want to read the comics like the three of us are all doing, we've got Amazon links on our page at malicecorp.com. But
malice-corp.com, you can see it written right there. Yeah.
But so it's either that he's just super incensed by Carl's death and he's raging right now, or he could be just kind of putting up a front and has some plans behind it.
Yeah, I want to state to a point that Jack's saying here. Negan is a man of pride that sees everyone as weak. I completely agree with it. I completely disagree with that. I don't think he sees everybody as weak. He is prideful, but he gets pissed off when the people that he doesn't see as weak, something happens to him. Seeing Carl go down, you saw it in Jeffrey D. Morgan's an amazing actor, and you saw it in just the looks that he was giving to the walkie-talkie and mannerisms he was giving. He's pissed that somebody he thought was built for this world has gone down. He doesn't think that Carl's weak. He was actually
that was like a gut punch for him.
He liked Carl. He liked that Carl
actually
jumped into a truck and came out to try and kill him. He
all by himself.
He never thought Carl was weak. He didn't think Sasha was weak.
He doesn't think Rick is weak.
When Sasha took the easy way out, that pissed him off because he didn't think she was weak. That's when she came out of that crate, he was like, God damn it. Like he gets pissed seeing people do that type of stuff. So he's trying to build up people, but he's a bad guy in terms of how he tries to do it at times.
Yeah.
Right.
So
he's bad at being a leader.
Oh no, he's a fantastic, charismatic leader. It's just he's not the kind of leader that we would like to follow. No. But again, that's a different world now, and he's leading that way because he thinks it's the only way that's really going to work.
Yeah, and that's just something we don't get into. That's politics. People are going to have different ways that they look at thinking that this is the way things should be run. That's why you have dictatorships and all different types of stuff. So in the real world, this is just now the apocalypse world. In the apocalypse world, you get people that say who should be killed, who shouldn't, who's judge, who's jury, the whole,
The apocalypse world is less of a Republican, more of a true democracy and or dictatorship.
Yeah. But yeah, Jack even says every time something goes wrong, he can't make mistakes. When shit goes wrong, it causes someone is weak. It's because someone's weak.
It's because I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Or like you said, Mest, he gets pissed when he sees what he considers to be strong people making what he considers to be weak decisions.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
And I that's at least the way I've taken it. So it's the same type of thing with I think Negan considers the character that luckily we haven't seen very much of lately at all.
Your favorite?
My least favorite character.
No, your favorite.
Yeah. Mr. Business in the front, party in the back. Yeah. I think Negan finds him to be
weak.
I don't think he thinks Eugene is a coward and is weak, but I don't think Negan thinks that of him. In all honesty, because of the smartness, because of the trying to figure how to do certain stuff and everything, Negan clearly sees him as a resource.
Jack just said Negan is a classic Greek benevolent despot, kind tyrant. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
Fantastic archetype. I think that Eugene is definitely weak in a sense, but he's also very much a survivor, and there's strength in that, and just in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think Negan sees that and respects that as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if you guys want to catch up on the comics, like we said, the comics are a bit different than what's going on in the TV show now, but there's still a lot of things together. You can go to our website, malice-corp.com. Any of the articles on there, there's an Amazon link at the bottom of the page. If you click on that and purchase your comics through that way, it helps us out. You still get your stuff like you normally would. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you so much for that. If you want to just get the actual comics, if they're available to find for you, Turbo Comics, they are on Facebook. They are also online. You can look up their phone number and everything like that. But they are the premier comic book shop out in Idaho, and they will look for stuff for you and ship it out to you if you're looking for a specific comic to fill that gap in your Walking Dead collection or any other collections. So go ahead and give them a check out and ring them up, because there's some really good guys to talk to about comic books and everything like that. But yeah, so
and just a side note, on one of them, on our main Friday night cast, do we possibly have one of the people from
in a couple weeks? Yeah. So as of right now, on the 24th, I believe it is, for our Friday MaliceCast. 23rd. One of the guys from Turbo Comics is planning to be on the cast so they can talk all types of comic books that day. I will, however, be at WonderCon, so bring him in to help fill the void of me not being there, which is easy to do at times. So maybe not the size void.
Not all the time.
I got that covered, dude. I'm good.
Yeah. And then Jack says, Polyfuse says self-preservation. Yep. Definitely self-preservation for Eugene is what I'm assuming he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jack says, a normal man trying to lead while dealing with personal tragedy for Rick. So Yeah, I agree with both those things. It's just it's a whole different world trying to figure out how to do things. So we didn't have any any songs or anything to delve into this week about what was going on. I do want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the other two characters that came into play this week.
Oceanside
Is Oceanside with Aaron and Enid. Once again, the title card was Enid, but it was a scene more about Aaron, in my opinion. So I have no idea why.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, I think it was mostly about Enid. She had her own little monologue about how she killed the grandma and how she would make that choice again.
Completely.
I guess that.
I think that's an accident. It was totally an accident. The grandma came up and it was dark.
She said she forced nowhere. She said she forced her hand, so that's how she felt, and she said she'd do it again if she put her into that situation.
Yeah, I mean, you're sneaking up on somebody in a zombie apocalypse. Come on, someone's gonna shoot you if you're sneaky and you don't make a normal sound and sound human, sound intelligent, and be like, "Yo, hey, I'm a person. Don't shoot me."
Are you guys liking what we're getting with these scenes with Aaron and Enid going into Oceanside, or do you feel it's a waste?
I'm interested. I'm interested to see what will happen.
Okay.
But in the middle of this episode, it felt really out of place.
Yeah, it was out of place. It was kind of pointless. Like, why?
I gotta mention this. I love Polyfuse's comment here. In the end, all that will remain is the rats, the roaches, and Eugene.
I would actually believe that. And Lucille. Don't forget about Lucille.
And Twinkies. Don't forget Twinkies. Twinkies are always going to be there. Jack also brings the question is, who is a better leader is the question. They're asking a true normal man that makes mistakes, listens to others, even if it drives to mistakes. It's a different archetype. I don't know who the better leader is, in all honesty.
I mean, I know who I'd rather follow, but
they both make mistakes. Yeah.
Well, I definitely wouldn't follow Jadis now.
Yeah.
How will he be?
Well, we all know who the best leader is. They just don't put her on the screen as much. But clearly, Maggie's the best leader of everybody that's a leader right now.
Except for the fact that she left stupid, what's his name alive? Gregory alive.
Oh,
God, I hate that guy.
100% wrong, Jack Malice. Morgan is not the best leader.
Please tell me in the comic books Gregory does die. I'm just like looking forward to that he dies somewhere.
Not up to the point where I'm at.
God dang it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I that's Maggie is the honestly the one with the best head on her shoulders and will take action when it's needed.
I wonder how much of that is her natural personality, how much of it is gotten from her dad, and how much of it was her time spent training as under the senator when they first got to Alexandria.
Well, it's like Mrs. Malice has brought up before. I honestly believe majority of, and one it is going to be a little from Rick as well because of being under him, but I honestly believe the majority of how Maggie does her decisions and how she looks at things is her father and is Glenn. That is the majority of where it comes from is looking at how they reacted, because Glenn was the one that would look at, hey, we need to take action, we need to do things and get things done,
right? But always in a kind way. Exactly.
And Herschel was the one was like, we have to look at things properly before we do anything. And she does a little bit of both of that, and that's where I think she gets her leadership qualities from the people that meant the two people that meant the most to her. Granted, her sister meant a lot to her as well, but
let's not bring that made me cry. Let's talk about
that was more as a protector from Maggie. She was more of a protector to her sister. It wasn't learning from her on how to be a leader.
She was learning to be a mom from her sister.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what she was.
I mean, that's the thought I have on it.
The brutal call to action parts where she shot the guy, the survivor or the savior. When she makes hard decisions, I think that's Rick's influence.
That's a little Rick. Yeah, that is a little bit of Rick coming out.
Speaking of her sister, Beth, I'm actually in the middle of a podcast with what's her name, Emily Kinney. I not a sponsorship in any way, but I've recently been watching the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you can watch it on YouTube or get it on Stitcher, YouTube or iTunes, wherever. It's genuinely worth listening to.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out what Jack's writing here. He put Carol was the best leader, but he's worm food. No, not Carol. Carol, or however you spell his name, he'd have been the best. It's Carl. You don't have to spell it the way that Andrew Lincoln says it in the terrible accent. Coral.
Coral. Yeah.
Get
back in the house, Coral.
Why, Carl? Why?
British coming out there.
Yeah.
That's the British coming out when he says Carl.
And Jack's absolutely right.
I literally thought Jack was talking about Carol on here because he was spelling Carol at first, and I'm just like, what? Why
Carol? What's the Morgan?
No, Carol's the best assassin they have. Coral definitely would have been the best leader, given that, if he had lived. Just all the different leadership styles he's absorbed, and like Negan said, the dude seemed. I mean, he was what, like 8 when the zombie apocalypse started. Yeah, he was kind of built for this world.
Yeah,
and he would have been the best leader on the show, and he is becoming an amazing leader in the comic books. So
I'm at the start of his leadership training in the comic books. So
so this is something again that we talked about a little bit mess in the pre-show was
get to right now.
The differences between the comics and the show, because small changes butterfly effect into huge things. As I'm reading more and more issues of the comics, I'm seeing that a lot of the storylines are very similar, but not all the characters are the same. So for instance, in the comic, Andrea's still alive and Rick and Andrea are together. In this place, they just kind of swapped Michonne into that spot. In the comics,
in the comic books is with Ezekiel, and it's not Ezekiel with Carol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what absolutely.
And the whole Eugene Sting. Well, I don't know if you got that far, but Eugene's very heavily part of Alexandria. He's not going over to the Saviors. He's
slightly. I think he got captured or something in the comics. I don't remember exactly.
No, but he stayed full on with.
No, he never switched mentality. Yeah. But so it's interesting to see that since they have killed Carl in the show, like there are major storylines coming up in the comics that he is a part of, and so I'm curious as to if they're gonna bring another character into that, or
that's what I'm wondering. Who do you think is going to end up taking over for? Because his character plays such a pivotal role that people are speculating as to what they think will be the person to take over.
It's going to be Ian's favorite child actor.
Okay, that was one they were going at. So if they do a time jump, they can make Henry take over that character role. Because you can't do a character jump of
Judith,
or a time jump of Judith. That would be so
way too far. Polyfuse actually asked a pretty good question. He said, "Do you guys think Negan is the leader that Shane would have been if he had lived?" I think that, like I said, I think Rick is even past where Shane was at that point, and I think Negan's past that. Shane didn't have the charisma to lead like Negan is.
I don't even know. Not even on the charisma, but would he have done the same type of things? I think Shane would easily become like a lieutenant with like Negan's type of people. He would have.
I think
conformed to that type, but I don't see Shane being the type that would.
Shane would be much more Simon.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know if he'd be much more Simon. I think he'd be more of the guy that died last episode. Or it was just like, stop being stupid, but I gotta kill you because
Yeah.
Shane feels more like that, where it was just like let's look at a sense where you're being a moron. And then
no, I mean
I still gotta fight you, I still gotta kill you because you're being a moron.
Maybe it's having watched The Punisher that's influencing me, but I think he's more Simon.
Yeah, it's just if you go back and watch the characterizations of him as Shane, I didn't get like the only reason he was looking to kill Rick was he was in love with
Lori.
Yeah, they had already started their life, and that Rick was dead. He wasn't going to come back, and now he's back, and so now he's just effing up everything because he already set up a new life. So I don't see Shane as being the one that would be a Negan type, where it was let's start a crime and punishment type of thing.
But I even don't think, even if he had survived the farm, I don't think he would have lasted much longer, because he would have eventually neither A, took off like he was planning to do, or B, get killed by zombies somehow. Because of how he is, I think that he would just literally would have somehow died some other way.
I get the. I picture Shane, if he had lived, would have found some way to get Rick killed, and then would have left with Lori, Carl, and Judith, which is probably his anyway, and they would have lived in some cabin off in the woods by themselves.
Well, Lori made it clear too. She did confess that Judith was Shane's kid. She did make that confession. So both in the comic book and the TV series. So.
Well, but Judith, who cares about paternity at this point?
Raising her as his. I mean, that shows that Rick is a good guy because that's his ex-best friend's kid and his wife's kid. So, I mean, that's a good man right there to do something like that.
Well, his ex-best friend's gone and dead, so he doesn't have to worry about the whole factor if he's there. Will she know it's her dad? like you do the right thing. I mean, if it would have been a much more interesting aspect if Shane was still around and it's like, I know this is his kid, but I'm going to raise it like my own, even though he's still here.
Well,
and
plus, zombie apocalypse. You find a child, you raise that thing.
Exactly.
You know that Gracie is going to be no different. It doesn't matter who her parents were; they're going to raise that kid.
Yep.
Yeah. Jack says we get two good things here from Polyfuse. He says that Shane would have been a joiner to a stronger power, which I agree with. Jack says that Shane would never have let the heapsters laughter happen, which is a great mistyping because he meant slaughter. But
That's funny.
Yeah, but I'd like to see the heapsters laugh. They didn't really laugh that much.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
It was all
they just had a lot of weird cat art.
Well, and that's the thing we learned from Janice in the episode was that she used to come to the dump because she saw it as a giant canvas of things to make art with.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make it pretty.
So it goes back into how they talk all over again because it's just like those really weird art things that they have.
Where there's a reason we call them heapsters.
Yeah, where they had do it. What that guy, the freaking LaBouffe, where they had him sitting in a box with a bag over his head, and it's like it's art. Yeah. So that's how we see that they were just talking like that because they were just doing an art piece to see how people reacted.
World's weirdest performance art with no audience.
The trash is their audience.
We never saw like their living quarters. All we ever saw was piles of garbage. Did they have Connex boxes set up somewhere that they slept in? Or
I'm sure they did.
Probably.
I'm sure they did. But yeah, getting back to Enid and Aaron, to me it felt kind of a wasted scene type of thing. I understand that it's setting up. That's what a lot of it was, is setting up. Like, what's Aaron gonna do? Is he gonna do a stakeout?
Well, the fact that she said, if you go back there, they're gonna kill you, and he's like, well, then I'm not gonna go back there.
So is he just gonna stay by that tree and wait for the girl to come out?
Seems to be.
Standing by the tree, being a creeper.
Yeah.
Just practicing his McConaughey impression real good.
Yeah. And did you buy the "Hey, you be safe, don't you get hurt" and hug each other? I've never seen them that close throughout the series. Like all of a sudden it's like, I care about you so much. It's
I don't know where that's coming from. I don't really care too much for Eden. I can't even say her name. That character too much. Just kind of pointless to me.
But she's the other one that could end up taking over Carl's.
That's what I was just thinking.
That's true. That is true. I didn't think about that.
Isn't it in the comics? Isn't it Carl that
in the
Oceanside?
In the I haven't read anything about Oceanside in the comics at this point.
I think he goes
but there's a major storyline with the Whisperers where Carl, like, they capture one of the Whisperers. It's a 16-year-old girl, and her and Carl hook up. So I feel like that would be just a really weird difference if Enid takes Carl's place in that story arc, and she hooks up with a 16-year-old dude from the Whisperers. Like, that would feel different somehow. I don't know.
But I think he's going to end up going back to the hilltop with Maggie because she's kind of more a Maggie follower. That's what I think is going to happen too. She'll go back to Hilltop.
Yeah.
Polyfuse says they would have slept in the shipping containers. in the trash.
Oh yeah, for sure. But also in the book, Sophia's still alive, and her and Carl are very close. So I think it's more likely that Enid would take the Sophia role from, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
The show and the books are so different at this point anyway.
Oh, it could be a hybrid. I mean, Herschel and Dale were kind of hybrided together in the TV show versus the, they had both characters, but then things happened to Dale that happened to Herschel, and they just mix things around. But on this Oceanside story, a really good point was made on Forbes.com, where they said that what's the point of recruiting Oceanside's fierce female fighters if those fighters A are unwilling to help and B no longer in possession of guns and ammunition? Why?
Yeah. They got a whole lot of fish.
They all look like Aquaman. They've got their like staffs. They're wrapped in fishnet camo.
It's the Oceanside Amazons. That's what they are. Amazons.
I love the fact that they left, one of the few gay characters left in the world with a community of nothing but women.
I know, right? These ladies are lucky to have that creeper.
Like they can't even use them for breeding purposes.
No.
Maybe that's why they want to get them back to helping out in the fight, is so the after effect they can start making some babies.
Well, they can, but he just won't enjoy it. They might, but he won't.
I don't know. And also, there's that one main lieutenant at Oceanside. She is clearly not interested in making babies.
No.
Polyfuse, I think, to the comment of them having pointy sticks and fishnet camo, said broke ass Amazons.
They don't exactly have. Oceanside is not exactly Themyscira.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Sorry that we didn't do it on Monday. We will be back this next Monday at 9 p.m. to talk about season 8, episode 11. And I've liked the last 2 episodes since we've come back. I was a little down on last week's, but I've seen some build on it from this week's episode. I think getting Negan back into the fold really helps bring everything back to.
Yeah, and the fact that they said that the Negan storyline was essentially going to be 2 seasons. We're in the back half of that second one now. So things are rolling to a conclusion with this major storyline, I think. Yeah.
And I think the factor that I like this episode so much is Eugene wasn't in it. And I just,
Well, I think he's going to be in the next episode, so you better brace yourself.
Yeah, and come on. The character may be a douche, but man, that actor's killing it.
I agree with you on that every single week. He is a fantastic actor, and he does the role so well that I hate him because of how well he does the role. Because he does come off as that cowardly, save his own butt,
extremely verbose, intelligent, but cowardly douche. Yes.
That will just go whatever side he has to make sure that he's protected.
Well, as Polyfuse and I were talking about in the comments earlier, he's a rat. Eugene's just a rat. He's a survivor. He says, Polyfuse says the Oceanside is basically if Wonder Woman took off and the Amazons went to shit. Yeah.
Please, if you guys are watching this later on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/MaliceCorp, leave us a comment below letting us know what your thoughts were on the episode. Let us know what your least favorite scene was, what your most favorite scene was, what you think in terms of who is going to replace Carl to fit that mold of the story. Is it going to be Enid? Is it going to be Henry in a time jump? Are they going to just create a whole new character to bring into this fold for what's going on? So yeah, let us know that in the comments as well. And what do you think about what's going on with Oceanside? Do you think that the Aaron Enid's story arc is necessary right now, or is it more of just taking up time and wasting time? Yeah. But I want to thank Polyfuse for joining us today. Everybody else that watches, please come back every single Monday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we will talk about each episode until the season is over. And hopefully the season continues after that, because there's been some really bad news lately that they are in the lowest ratings they've ever had since season 1.
Which means, not quite 11 million people previewing anymore. Which
they're
it
still
was the second highest rated show on TV.
Well, they're still leading Sunday market for when they air, but it's way down from what it used to be. And it's just, they said a lot of it has to do with the people that have died and stuff, and that there's no connection And then it also has to do with Amazon and Netflix and people just cutting the cord on cable altogether. So the show is still got high hopes from AMC, so they're still saying that they're going to let Gimbal run with it as long as he wants to. And that looks like we should still get at least 2 more seasons, but I just want something that ties everything up at the end by the time it happens.
Oh yeah, me too. That.
If you enjoy these kind of talks and these chats and these podcasts that we're having, make sure to join us tomorrow. We have our Supernatural MaliceCast TV talk where Icy Zoro, Super Hoovian, and possibly a third might come back to talk about.
It's primarily myself and Super Who. I mean, yeah. We cover Supernatural, which I recently binged over the last year, and she's been watching for a long ass time. She knows all about that show. And it's a genuinely good show. So yeah, tomorrow night.
It was Supernatural though.
And then as always, join us on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our main cast, the MaliceCast Live, where we talk about all things nerd. Anything having to do with headlines that focus on tech, comic books, video games, TV, movies, pop culture, you name it. We look to talk about it and have some fun talking about it and get your opinions and get your thoughts amongst the other nerds and nerdette that sit here to talk. It's all nerds this week, but yeah, come back and join us every week for that. Let's talk about where we can follow some people. So, Mrs. Malice, I know we don't have a specific Twitter where we can follow you, but there is one that they can go to bug your other half to talk to you about The Walking Dead.
That's true. Bug him.
Bug him. Yeah, you go to @Jack_Malice on Twitter and tell him what your thoughts were about The Walking Dead and if you agree or disagree with Mrs. Malice and whatnot. And you're on book 10. How far are you through it?
I'm almost done.
And you already have book 11 because I know I talked to him and I think.
So
yeah. There's a funny story with that, but we won't go into that.
You're in the issues that are titled All Out War?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the final 12 issues that conclude that storyline.
Yeah. Where can we follow you, Mr. Zorro?
I am at Icy Zorro on both Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, mostly wine stuff, some nerd stuff. Yeah.
And as always, you can follow the main group of people at Malice Corp on Twitter. You can follow this cast and all casting we do at MaliceCast. Please check out our other podcast partners, Quest for 100 on iTunes and Nerd Mosh Pit on iTunes as well. Those are both,
Big Papa.
Including Big Papa Matt and Beacon. What the heck was that?
Background noise.
Yeah, go check those out on iTunes. Please leave a 5-star review if you like it and subscribe and let us know what you're thinking about the casts as they do them. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mest_MaliceCorp or on Instagram at Mest5150. And thank you guys so much for coming out. Please come back next Monday. We'll talk more Walking Dead and we will see you soon. And you guys
carry on.
Talk dead to me.
Bye.